Hey, what's up everyone? This is IllFactor from beatacademy.com. In this video, I'm going to be doing a product review. I'm going to be spotlighting iZotope's Nectar 3, which is the new product that they've released and which is an all-in vocal processing chain plugin. So let's dive right in. So here I have a track with some vocals.
I got things on my mind and I'm falling away.
So I'm going to head over to my plugins folder, grab Nectar 3, drag and drop that into the lead vocal bus. So right from the get-go, we notice that it is newly designed. If you've ever used any of the Nectar products before, this is an all-new layout in line with all the other things that they've been releasing, such as Ozone 8, and along with that, they've implemented a lot of the assisting algorithm, meaning that if you have no clue where to start in getting your vocal to sound the way you want it to, you could use the assist here to basically allow the plugin to analyze, and they're using a bunch of cool different algorithms to kind of guess where some of the problematic frequencies might be and already hit the ground running with a setting. So I'll give that a shot. Let's just take a listen to it. I'll click assist and hit next, and then what kind of vibe you're looking for. This I'm going for a vintage type of vibe. So I'm going to hit vintage, and intensity, I'll leave it moderate, and then next. So now let's go ahead and play the audio.
I just don't know.
So after analyzing the vocal in playback, this is the vocal chain processing that it estimated would be a good fit to start from. Now the thing is, when you're using these assistant algorithms and these models, like I said, they're a great place to start if you just have no, understanding of how to even begin to shape or model your vocals, or if you're just in a tight time crunch and you're just like, I just need this thing to sound good and I gotta go. They could be very useful. But again, it's no substitute for understanding the ins and outs of each one of these tools, such as EQ and compression and even some effect processing, because you're always going to be that's always going to be the best benefit for yourself. You're always going to be getting the better results when you know ins and outs of these tools to get the sound that you're looking for. So as you can see here, it starts off with a pitch correction. That is not turned on, and we could use that to auto correct any pitch issues that we might hear. Just need to insert the same the right key that we're in. So we're in F minor, so I'm going to put that in there, F minor. And now we can determine the speed. Well, if you want that T-Pain effect, make it really quick, and so it'll sound really digitally corrected. So I want to slack a little bit more on the speed, and here's the strength of that. Then they've added a gate here, which could be very useful. So let me just solo the track.
I got things on my mind.
But apparently it doesn't have it on. There's an EQ with some suggestions on where to cut some frequencies that might be problematic.
I got things on my mind.
And a de-esser set all the way over here around 8K. So just showing you that the assist is probably a cool place to start if you're not familiar with the process. But what I want to do is maybe just start from default, just blank slate, and walk you through some of the modules that are included in Nectar and how I would use this to shape the vocal to get it to the way I would like it to sound. So let's start with that gate. I'm going to add a gate here. I'm going to put that right after the pitch correction. I'm going to have to reset all that information I inputted. So F minor, correct, and leave it there. Start with a gate. Now here determines the threshold. So once the audio passes this open line, that's when we get to hear the audio. And then you can determine the close, like when does the gate actually close, so at what level. And this will help with a lot of that chattering that you hear sometimes when using a gate.
I got things on my mind and I'm falling away.
So having this graphic display of the vocal volume is really helpful to determine where you should be placing the gate.
I got things on my mind and I'm falling away.
So this could be really helpful to get rid of some headphone bleed, but you also don't want to get it to be too sharp in the release of it and things like that, because then it tends to kill a lot of the vibe. So I'll just be a little bit more lax with that gate.
I got things on my mind.
And you hear a little bit of that chatter is what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go a little bit lower, or actually a little higher there, and lower the close tab a little bit more.
I got things on my mind, and I'm falling away.
So that's cool there. Then I can head over to the EQ or add any one of these modules, and you could change the chain of command any which way you like. So I'll start with de-essing. I'll have a de-esser, put that right after the gate, and then you could just determine the frequency that will trigger the de-esser to work. So it's very self-explanatory. Let's just lower the threshold while listening to it to see what we can de-ess here. So that's a good place to start. And I'll go ahead and take the listen off and head over to the EQ.
I got things on my mind.
Now the EQ is great. I'm told that you can add up to maybe more than 40 bands in this EQ, which is really very beneficial if you're trying to get really crazy surgical. But what I like is the solo mode as well. You can just solo in on the frequencies that you're adjusting, very helpful, as well as some of the new dynamic features that are introduced into this EQ. So I can just roll off the low end there, and then I can just find those frequencies that might just, you know, be a little bit problematic.
I got things on my mind.
So now we can turn the dynamic portion on, and we could either use this as a dynamic control so they would actually compress just that signal.
I got things on my mind,
which is really helpful so that it's just focusing in on that problematic frequency and tucking it down.
I got things on my mind.
So that's the gain. But then we can also use this feature here to frequency. And this allows to track the pitch and the harmonics that sometimes certain frequencies add. So if you click the frequency filter, the frequency feature in the dynamics tab, you'll see what happens.
I got things on my mind.
It'll actually lower or raise depending on what you're doing with this EQ. It will go ahead and adjust the harmonics of that band that you're focusing on. So if I went over here and
I got things on my mind,
it'll boost some of the harmonics of that frequency as well. So really cool. I'm not used to actually using this type of feature in a lot of the EQs, so it's something myself I'm just going to get used to using, but it is kind of cool to use. So right now I like to use the gain to drop a little bit of that.
I got things on my mind,
that low mid, and then I can just go ahead and boost, give some air.
I got things on my mind, and I'm falling away.
And just moving over to some compression so we can control the overall dynamics. Here, again, this is very similar to Ableton Live's built-in compressor layout, so that you can see exactly what the compressor is doing. So it's a really cool design as well.
I got things on my mind.
And it's a great way of actually explaining and realizing what a compressor is doing. If you're not even used to the concept of compression, if you're just kind of walking into this for the first time, you see that you're creating a ceiling, and any audio that passes that ceiling, the threshold, that's when the compressor begins to reduce that audio right below the threshold here. So whatever comes past that white line, it's going to automatically, depending on the settings you have it, bring it right down below that white line. You can see that's what that orange line on the top represents.
I got things on my mind.
So they have different modes of compression here. You can kind of experiment. They all have their own little individual nuances, like the vintage.
I got things on my mind.
And you can go ahead and alter the settings. I'm going to take the automatic gain reduction or the makeup gain off, and just boost the makeup gain myself.
I got things on my mind, and I'm falling away.
So I'm using the compression to control the overall dynamics. And then after that, we'll go ahead and add, let's add a little bit more EQ.
I got things on my mind, and I'm falling away.
And you can add any one of these other modules. So let's just take a look at saturation. So here I'm going to add, now meaning I'm trying to go for this Amy Winehouse's vintage type of sound, this vocal sound. So definitely going to use some tape saturation in this process, but you can determine and choose any one of the different models of saturation that's there. So let's take a listen to the tape and crank it up.
I got things on my mind, and I'm falling away.
And then you can use this here, this band, to kind of just take away some of the harshness that comes along with some saturation. So I can smooth this out, and almost like this high shelf post filter that's placed on the saturator. So I'll use this to warm up the vocal a little bit.
I got things on my mind, and I'm falling away.
Now, effect processing is included in this. So what I mean by that is you've got some delay, dimension, even some reverb on there. So let's listen to the delay.
I got things on my mind.
You can determine how much of that delay you want by adjusting the mix knob here.
I got things on my mind.
Now, normally I wouldn't place the delay or even a reverb or any type of effects processing like this directly on the vocal. So what I might do is just create an auxiliary return track here in Ableton Live, and then place a Nectar here with just these properties on there, and putting the mix completely at 100% and just sending that vocal. So let me show you what I mean. So we'll grab another Nectar 3 here, click, drag, and drop that to an empty return track. And for this one, we'll take the pitch correction, make sure it's off, no compression, and then we'll add that delay. So here's the delay, put that first, and we're going to set the mix all the way to 100. And so since this is on my return track F, I'm going to go to my lead vocal bus here and just send some of this vocal to the F.
I got things on my mind, and I'm falling away.
What's cool is now you can also, place a lot of the other modules on top of this delay to affect it as well. So you can even create some dimension, some chorus after that to give it some nice wide stereo imaging.
I got things on my mind.
And you can EQ the delay, which is already embedded inside the delay module.
I got things on my mind, and I'm falling away.
So that I like that because I give more control of how much I want to send the
I got things on my mind.
And it gives me a better stance. And when I'm mixing this vocal in with the rest of the track, if I want more of that delay to just be present, I can crank it from here instead of having it going into the plugin.
I got things on my mind, and I'm falling away.
Let's see what we're at so far with bypassing the Nectar. So let me just go ahead and leave it on and then turn it off.
I got things on my mind, and I'm falling away. I got things on my mind.
Well, so it's subtle. I mean, it does good. I mean, it's doing what it needs to do. I mean, you're adding EQ, you're adding compression, and so it's very evident that is what I am doing. I'm altering, and so it is a great plugin for that. And the whole purpose of adding plugins is that each plugin that you're adding, whether they're third party, usually a lot of third-party plugins, whether it's UAD or Waves or anything like that, they're adding a specific type of character within that plugin. So sometimes you might just fall in love with a plugin just because of the certain character that it adds to that track that you're adding it to. So a couple other things as well that we covered, the delay and some of the chorus. We have this harmony function here that you can add. So the harmony is exactly that. You're adding a harmony. You're adding another tonal part to the performance. So here is the unison, both left and right.
I got things on my mind.
So it's really cool. You can even leave it like that just to act as a doubler.
I got things on my mind.
So I can put another voice here and determine what tone. So let's go maybe even another octave, super octave.
I got things on my mind, and I'm falling away.
So I can put it right in the middle.
I got things on my mind, and I'm falling away.
or we can go ahead and choose maybe the 7th.
I got things on my mind.
And pan it a little bit in the 5th.
I got things on my mind. And I'm falling away.
The lower you put it in the spectrum, the lower the gain goes. So this is all going to be, I mean, this is, this opens up to a lot of possibilities of adding some really cool effects to your vocals. Again, I'd probably just have this on an auxiliary return track so I can send this to that and affect it that way. And then reverb. So that's pretty straightforward.
I got things on my mind. And I'm falling away.
So that's, and I don't see the different, like I don't think you can determine what kind of reverb, whether it's going to be hall or plate. But since this is probably, since this is on a vocal, it's mostly primarily going to be a plate type reverb. You can add some saturation to it as well.
I got things on my mind.
I'll see what that sounds like in the mix. So let's go ahead and hit that.
I got things on my mind. And I'm falling away. I ain't got that much time. Because you're in my way.
All in all, it's a very useful tool, especially when trying to get the vocals to sound the way you want them to. But again, understand that these are just basic tools that you already have equipped in your DAW. Things like gates, EQs, compression, saturation, even delay and reverb. These are the bare essentials that you'll need to get the vocals sitting right in the mix. And I'd always recommend that you get familiar with the tools that you already have at hand and strengthen that and understand the inner workings of those plugins and how to use those to get the sound that you're looking for. And so what makes this really beneficial is a lot of the assisting, the being able to mask, have another Nectar on another track and have them kind of sync up and talk to each other so that it would know exactly what frequencies to take out. So it's a great way to kind of get your feet wet in learning how to shape your vocals if you're not yet familiar with the process. And I like the delay and the harmony, and I like using them as an effect themselves and placing them on a return track that I can send my lead vocal to. And that's primarily how I'm going to start using Nectar 3. And then I'm starting to want to get used to that frequency field feature in the EQ. So I hope this video was helpful for you. And as my gift for watching this video, I'd like to send you a sample pack that I've put together with some sounds, construction kits, loops, one-shots, transition effects. It's yours absolutely free. Just simply click the link below to download this. And they're 100% royalty free and can be used in any DAW that you're currently using. So it's my gift to you. Just click the link below in the description box, or you can visit www.beatacademy.com/pack and download this sample pack free. Yours today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.